And so how did you find sobriety?
Well, what happened was I was just obviously missing a lot of school. I stole like 15 grand from my parents' safe, and I bought a bunch of drugs and stuff, and I ran away from home.
Okay, well, that's a opiate move. So you're taking some painkillers?
Yeah. And then that's very.
I know this disease inside and out.
Inside and out.
Yeah.
And I had already been the last time I went to rehab. I already been to 2 places, and this third time, I came home and my parents I ran away from home, but I came home to get a change of clothing, and my parents' cars weren't in the driveways, but I knew how to get in the house. And then when I got in the house, my mom was on my bed crying, and I punched her a bunch of times. Like, it was really fucked up.
Were you just out of your head?
That was out of my mind. Yeah, I was on a meth binge.
I was saying, it sounds like meth.
Yeah.
Opiate.
And then my mom forced me into her car to drive me to school for some fucking reason.
Whoa.
Right? And I jumped out of the car while it was driving. And then I ran down this field, and my mom had this red Mustang, and she was like
driving on the field.
Yeah, driving on the field to find. It was really a disaster. And I fell on a pothole, a hole. I fell on the ground, and then something happened to me, dude. I had a spiritual awakening.
Right in that pothole.
I had what they say a moment of clarity.
Yeah. And how did that speak to you? What were the kinds of thoughts you were having at that moment?
The only thing, it wasn't a thought though. It was more of a feeling of warmth and a feeling of hope that I've never had before in my life before that. That for some reason everything was going to be okay, right? But I knew that I had to get sober.
Oftentimes, in the kind of situation you're describing, people will have the initial thought would be, this is not supposed to be my life. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Was it that? Yeah.
It was that, and it was also, I would have little thoughts like when I used to, like, there's a friend of mine, I used to go to his house, and we used to smoke pot in high school. And one day I was smoking pot with him, and we had missed school, and he looked at me and goes, dude, we're going to be doing this for the rest of our lives.
Is he still?
I don't know. I lost contact with him from high school, but I looked at him, and it struck me in the heart.
Yeah.
Like, oh no.
Well, interesting. Usually those moments of clarity follow some sort of novel interpersonal experience. Usually it's with a new kind of person, usually a sober person. This is the first time I've heard of a drug addict getting through to another drug addict. It's pretty good.
Because he's kind of scared me. Like, this is not what I want.
And maybe he was having his moment of clarity right then and there.
That could have been the case too. Yeah. So anyway, I went to then my mom picked me up.
Well, now you're treatable. At that moment, you're treatable.
Right, and I went to this place called the McDonald Center in La Jolla. But here's another second thing that happened that was a God shot. Now, when I say God, I don't mean
it's something. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what.
For the average person, that's a shorthand for something magical was happening in my life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was open to it too.
Yeah.
And I had a bad day at treatment, and I did.
What does that mean?
I woke up, when you first have that spiritual awakening, you're on a pink cloud, right? So
the negativity came in.
Right. And then one day I was in treatment and the alcoholism and the negativity and all the brain stuff started kicking in.
So again, for people that may not know how that works, in this disease of addiction, you see negativity everywhere, you blame everything. It's your brain's way of trying to get you to go use.
Right, that's what it was. Yeah. And I also was trying to get out of the place.
Well, that's
right.
Because the feeling, whenever the feeling is for opiate, you were coming off opiates.
More, but at that point, no, I had already gone through that detox.
Okay, because opiate withdrawal, the part no one ever talks about is there's a sense of desperation. Desperation is that's the most uncomfortable part of the withdrawal. And in response to that desperation, addicts think, I got to get out of here. But if you're not coming off opiates, the I got to get out of here is your brain going, use.
Yeah. And I did an outburst. I said, hey, to the counselor and some kids, I go, there are no Koreans.
Oh, that's why I need to get out of here. Racist.
Right? No, that was my point of view.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
There are no Koreans in sobriety or any of the meetings I go to. Right? We aren't supposed to be here. Whatever. I did that fucking thing. Right?
I love it.
And they were a little, taken aback about my little explosion.
Yeah.
But something happened the next day. Mm-hmm. I got a knock on the door, and when the counselor goes, there's someone in the lobby to see you. I go, who is it? They go, just come out in the lobby and meet him. And I came out in the lobby, and there stood before me a Korean man.
Oh.
With long white hair down to his like shoulders.
A sensei.
Right. He had tattoos to his wrist.
Nice.
And he stood there. He looked like a character from Mortal Kombat.
Yes, yes.
And he stood there like this, right?
Did he speak to you in Korean?
No, he didn't know Korean.
Do you know Korean?
A little bit.
Okay.
He was adopted when he was 11.
Huh.
And he did maybe a little Korean, but he never spoke to me in
I just think
Korean.
it'd be much cooler if he
Yeah,
did.
yeah, whatever. And he looked at me and he goes, "I Dan." I go, "You're Dan?" He goes, "I your sponsor."
Oh.
And
So they went and got a temporary sponsor for you.
Oh, but this dude had a lot of time.
Yeah. Oh, no, they know what they're doing. Listen,
This dude was hardcore, bro.
I'm telling you, that's a good program you were in.
It was, yeah, yeah.
And
so
set
then
you
what
up.
happened? I got out, right? And I would say shit like, because I was kicked out of school for so many times that the school, my high school was like, "You're not going to graduate with everybody." And Dan goes, "You are." I go, "How?" "You're going to do 0 period. You're going to do lunch period. You're going to do night school. You're going to do a school on Sunday to catch up." Plus, he had me do like 9 meetings a week.
Wow.
Plus, I had to go to school.
And you did it.
I did it all.
Okay. That speaks to your moment of clarity, because if somebody hasn't had that and you try to get them to do that, no way.
Right.
No way.
I was willing to do anything
Right.
it took
Well, that's
to stay alive.
That's right. And that's what people say when they're really ready. They go, "I'll do anything." You go, "Okay, ready? Anything?"
Yeah.
Here we go.
But can I just say this is that I know this about myself. I can't take a lot of spiritual pain. I can take emotional pain. I can take physical pain for years. But when it comes to my soul, right, I have a window of 2 years of using, and then I can hit bottom again. There's just something about
You're depleted.
I'm depleted.
You've depleted your.
Yeah,
I get it.
I get desperate, right?
Yeah.
So then, because of Dan and because of that regiment that he had me on, immediately I would go to like, he would go with his sponsor and stuff. We would go to like spiritual retreats as a junior in high school to go to like a monastery and learn about meditation, learn about silence. You know what I mean? Learn about like living in the moment.
You're so lucky.
Dude, you're learning life skills back then. Like I learned the power now, like Eckhart Tolle shit, back when I was a junior in high school. Like this is the kind of shit that I was educated to. So I was so lucky in that way. But I have to say that I was willing.
Yeah.
You have to be willing.
It's sort of more than willing.
Yeah.
Willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah,
so good for you, man.
So then, this is what happened. So then when I graduated from high school, like with everyone else, he did it for me, right?
Yep.
And then I immersed myself in recovery. So I stayed at home and I did a living amends to my parents.
Wow.
So I would work at their store for free.
Oof.
I was there, like I would,
Did they have any idea what was going on?
They did.
They were like,
because they took the classes as well.
Okay.
Some, and they did the best they could as Korean parents. And I
did your dad get sober?
No,
Yeah.
he didn't. But
That's his journey.
that's his journey.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. To me, it was like a cultural thing or something. But he didn't. But he did. He didn't become violent, right? He stopped hitting my mom and people in the house. But that was something that just didn't happen for him.
Good.
He's still alive, but yeah.
But he changed in a very positive way. And that's what usually happens when somebody makes a big shift. Everyone's got to come along in some fashion.
But here's the thing. Here's how I think. So I went to this recovery McDonald's, which was in La Jolla. So check this out. When I lived at home for a couple years, but when I did move out, I moved to La Jolla because that's where all the kids I went to rehab with.
Yeah.
That's where
Your
all
home
my meetings were.
Yeah.
And I would
Sure.
go outside of La Jolla as well.
Sure.
But then now check this out. By being in La Jolla, I got jobs in La Jolla, which is like working at a coffee shop right next to the Comedy Store.
And did you immediately think, I wonder if I could do that?
No.
Or just by working that you started hearing about it?
No, just I was working at this coffee shop. I was living working next to the Comedy Store. And when that coffee shop closed, they had a help wanted sign there.
Oh my gosh.
So I went next door to get a job, and the manager gave me a job there as a barback. Then by being there, right, I was able to watch open mic nights This is in 1994,
Wow.
right?
Yep.
I thought to myself, you should try.
Did you fall in love with it in any way, or just sort of?
No, but I was at a meeting, and I spoke at a men's meeting, North Park Men's, and after the meeting, I crushed. Like it was
Crushed
like
at the comedy show.
no, at the meeting.
At the meeting. Okay. Yeah.
Right at the meeting,
Yeah.
I crushed it.
Yeah.
I wasn't even meaning to be funny.
Yeah.
It just people were like dying laughing.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, a man that I never saw before or after, older man, came up to me and goes, "You should do comedy." I go, "Why?" He's like, "There's something about you that's really just intrinsically funny."
And he was a ghost, right? He came.
And I honestly, I never saw him before or after, right? So then when 6 months later, when the comedy store closed, I mean the coffee shop closed and the comedy store got me a job. I got a job there.
You were thinking.
It was already now a seed was planted. And then so in my mind, and I know people probably don't believe in stuff like this, but in my mind, it's all a part of this the Bobby Lee plan.